And we are live, 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 we are live. We are live. Fight week. Two big fights, of course. Obviously, the news is being dominated by Canelo and Crawford. That fight, quite frankly, as big as it is, you guys know my opinions on that fight. As big as that fight is, as hyped as it's got a lot of people, I go in with very low expectations, personally. Both in terms of entertainment and legitimacy. The only thing about Canelo Crawford I can say really is I'd like to be surprised. That's pretty much it when it comes to Canelo Crawford. I would like to be surprised. You know? I don't know whether I'm staying up for that fight as of right now. It's on Netflix, so, I can watch it the next day without any spoilers. Because I'll avoid the spoilers, obviously. But also the next day there's Inoue versus Akhmadaliev, and something came up on Sunday, tomorrow, that I probably have to attend to. So, yeah, it's kind of disrupted my boxing pleasures this weekend, I have to be honest. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, it's a good weekend of boxing on paper, right? It's a good weekend of boxing on paper. I think the best fight in terms of entertainment, like I said prior, will be MJ versus Inoue. There's a fight on the undercard of Canelo Crawford though that I do really, really like. And I may have undersold it on the undercard preview, which is Christian Embily versus Liston Martinez. Really, really good fight. Embily is Cameroonian French, based out of Canada. Liston Martinez, Guatemalan. Both guys are pressure guys. Both guys have good power. Embili's much more experienced, had a lot more fights, and I would say fought better competition. But Martinez is bigger. He's naturally bigger. I think he's a bit younger as well. I do think Embili's a bit more skilled. Like in terms of how he throws his shots, he tightens his punches better. I think he throws better in combination. I think he keeps his shape a bit better. But Martinez is big and he's powerful. But in the exchanges, I have a feeling that fight might favour Embily. But having said that, who knows? Like maybe Martinez takes the power better and maybe Embily doesn't. So that's a great fight on paper. Embily versus Martinez could steal the show in terms of pure entertainment. My only disappointment is that it's a 10-rounder for a WBC interim title, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Hopefully you're well, mate. I actually see Canelo Crawford being a Dolefest. Dolefest, did you mean? I'm assuming you meant Dolefest. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, bro. I wouldn't be shocked. And listen, man, I question the legitimacy of, obviously, a lot of Canelo fights. But even Crawford, man, he's, for me, had some red flags in his career. I feel like a lot of his opponents have been compromised prior. Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Errol Spence. I know he's done the job, and obviously he's a really good fighter, but exploding gloves, which a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of these two guys in the main event, they have had help from the boxing establishment. When two guys like this get together, especially in a fight that nobody really was asking for, I do question it, man, I do. But, for me, I guess the only thing you can go in with is faith. Faith that it's a real fight. Faith that both guys come to win. And faith that it's fair across the board and may the best man win. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't really go into this fight with a favourite or somebody I'm necessarily rooting for. I don't really care. In regards to who wins this fight. All I want to see, again, I'll reiterate, is that it's real and fair. That's it. But, these big-time boxing events, usually there's some sort of fuckery. Usually there's something that we're not satisfied with. So, listen, I'll go in with faith, but I'm not expecting anything. And I'd be happy to be surprised. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, 100%. I've always spoken about things that I find distasteful about Canelo's career. Again, there are people who go really far with it and say, oh, he's a complete bum. He's actually every single one of his fights is fake. I don't go that far with Canelo. Like, I've seen Canelo from... I started watching Canelo in like 2011, 2010 maybe. I think the first fight I saw Canelo in was Baldomir. I think it was Baldomir. So I've been following Canelo for a long time, and I've kind of had a like-dislike kind of relationship when it comes to Canelo. You know, early on in his career, he became the WBC super welterweight champion, and he was cherry-picking his way through for a long time, fighting the likes of, Kermit Cintron, Ryan Rhodes, Matthew Hatton. He was fighting terrible competition. And he was awarded that belt in dodgy circumstances as well, if I remember correctly. But then came the time when he kind of demanded to fight Austin Trout, because Golden Boy were keeping Canelo away from Trout. But Canelo forced that fight. He did the same with Lara as well. So at this point in time in Canelo's career, I was really on board with Canelo Alvarez. Seemed to be a guy who wanted the best fights, etc. Then the whole Golovkin situation came about, where he basically aged out Golovkin and still got a hand as well by the judges, by the powers that be. You know, Canelo in a different timeline, I think, would have been a real fan favourite. He's a fan favourite now, but what I mean is, he'd be a fan favourite across the board. There wouldn't be as many naysayers, so to speak. But, you know, that's my whole thing on Canelo. Like, I find it very hard to get excited for his fights. What's up, Dave? How you doing, man? Big up to Dave every single time. Crocker Donovan? Yeah, listen, Crocker's got to be better this time around. I just think Donovan is too slick, too quick, way more athletically gifted. He's faster, both hand speed and foot speed, puts his shots together better, comes at different angles for southpaw stance. Crocker in this fight needs to have a tighter guard, and he needs to work the body very early on. But who knows? Maybe Crocker can make adjustments. I don't see it though, based on what I saw first time around. What's up, Lee? How you doing, broski? It's 4:52 a.m. and I'm just getting ready to go snooze, and you show up in my notifications. You got to be done. It's got to be done. I hope you're right, Dragon. I really hope you're right, bro. I'd love to be surprised, and it's a great fight. Both guys go for it. Both guys have success. You know, both guys have their moments, and it's just a real fair fight. That's what I really want to see here. That's what I want to see in every fight. But, you know, you get even more clarity of that when you're not really supporting either guy. I don't really care who wins. I really don't care who wins. I just want to see it be fair, basically. That's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how Bud handles the power. I'm looking forward to seeing whether Bud's speed can carry up. And whether he can make that kind of effective against Canelo. How not just his hand speed, but Bud's foot speed, and can he move? Can he be dexterous for 12 rounds, carrying the extra weight? You know? But Bud looked pretty good at the weigh-in. I thought he looked good. I thought both guys looked good on paper. Both guys looked fit. Both guys looked strong. Indeed, Dragon, you know. But a lot of fight fans, bro, when it comes to boxing, because a lot of fight fans go into fights really rooting for one guy or the other, I think a lot of boxing fans ignore obvious questions in regards to corruption, judging, etc., you know? I think a lot of fans talk about it when it's convenient, but they don't when it's not. Whereas, like, regardless of who we root for in fights, we should all want a fair sport. Is how I see it. But there we go. That's just my kind of take on it. To be honest with you, this whole Muhammad Ali Act business, I'm not a legalese guy. I don't really know what the Muhammad Ali Act is about. What I do know is, in boxing, you know, despite the Muhammad Ali Act being put into effect, you know, we've still seen fighters' careers get kiboshed by politics in boxing. We still see fighters get robbed. We still see fighters not do well financially. I have always kind of seen the Muhammad Ali Act as like I haven't looked deeply into it, but almost like a lip service to boxing. I don't know whether people really take it seriously. Like, I don't think it's been enforced in court all that much, the Muhammad Ali Act. But, you know, maybe there's a better alternative to the Muhammad Ali Act. Maybe what they're trying to do is going to be worse. I do like the idea of, remove Dana White from the scenario. I do like an idea of a league in boxing, not even a league, but maybe a tournament, where you have like up-and-coming prospects who are not as well known. So obviously you get prospects who come out the Olympics from America, the UK, etc. These guys get good promotional deals right away. But there's a lot of good prospects out there who nobody knows. If you could have a league and have these prospects fight each other, and then, you know, the cream will rise to the top, you could get a scenario where those sort of leagues develop really good talent and they give opportunities to guys who don't have promotional backing. I like the idea of like the prospect league, so to speak. You know, how they're kind of selling this TKO league is basically a prospect league for fighters who may not have like the best advantages in terms of promoters. So again, I think, you know, there could be reasons to be concerned about this, but there's also reasons to maybe be there could be reasons to be positive as well. It could work. I think it could work. Yeah, that is right about Dana. I feel like Dana came up apparently liking boxing, but, you know, he's been focused on MMA for like 25, 30 years. So yeah, his knowledge is in the toilet. What's up, your boy Neto Garcia? How you doing, bro? Yeah, it'd be nice to see a conclusive finish in the main event. I think if Canelo fights like in the Saunders fight, he wins easy. Yeah, most boxing fans can't see past their dislike of Dana because they think he's Lucifer. He can bring positives to the sport. Yeah, so I'm skeptical of Dana White in many ways. But at the same time, I'm not one of those people who write him off completely. I'm open for new ideas in boxing. You know, new concepts. Like, one of the things I think the Saudis should have really done was to reintroduce the World Boxing Super Series, or like the Super 6 from way back in the day. You know, the tournament concept in boxing, because that really does separate the men from the boys. The World Boxing Super Series was a great concept, but I think it came too early. I've got a feeling about Hamza being next if Canelo beats Bud. Turkey wants to make that fight next. Yeah, and that fight's marketable, obviously, to the Middle East because of Hamza's background as well. Like, Hamza Shiraz, yeah, he's very unproven, and I have a lot of doubts about Hamza Shiraz. He's obviously a good fighter that's getting better. Who knows how good he can get, but Hamza Shiraz, you look at him, he's definitely marketable. You can definitely sell him in a fight with Canelo. You can. You just can. Jermaine Franklin on points. Yeah, Jermaine Franklin's fighting Ivan Klitschko, right? Ivan Klitschko was a very good amateur, bronze or silver medalist in the Olympics, like a 6'9" heavyweight who can punch. But he's 35 years old now. He's been pro since 2018. He's had 15 fights, I believe, and he's fought absolutely nobody. When he turned pro, there was reasons to be excited about Ivan Klitschko, but he hasn't been active and he's fought nobody. So Jermaine Franklin may have a chance. One thing about Jermaine Franklin, I don't think Jermaine Franklin is necessarily a great heavyweight, but one thing I like about Franklin, he looks like one of those guys who would be really handy in like a training camp. If you're a heavyweight champion, get Jermaine Franklin in. He knows how to take care of himself. He knows how to defend. He's tough. He's durable. He's got some good subtle tricks. But he's never... He reminds me of a really good sparring partner. So I think he will take Klitschko the distance. I don't think he wins, though. I don't think he wins. Yeah, indeed. Indeed, Dragon. Yeah, indeed. Dana's been letting down the UFC recently due to him lacking in effort and advertisement. And I'm a casual to MMA, and I can see that, yeah. It feels like MMA are going through... Again, we do this as boxing fans or MMA fans. We always say the other sport's dying, All it takes is a couple of new faces, a couple of new names, and it's alive again. MMA's never going to die. Boxing's never going to die. MMA will be fine. But they do need, I feel, a couple of new faces. You know, they had the McGregor era, they had Khabib, they had John Jones, and I feel like they need new faces. Yeah, I heard about this enhanced games. So basically it's like an Olympic-style sporting event where all the athletes are allowed to take PEDs. I mean, if they're all up for it, why not? I don't mind, honestly. David versus Artur Beterbiev next. If David beats Yard, great fight, bro. Great fight. Benavidez Yard I quite like. Listen, I make Benavidez a big favourite, but Yard does have a bit of speed. He does have a bit of power. And I think you can, if you're brave, I think you can punch with Benavidez. You have to be punched. Yard's only chance in that fight, he needs to be brave. He needs to punch with Benavidez when Benavidez is throwing one of those combinations, and he needs to try and time Benavidez. He's not going to outwork Benavidez. We know that. He needs to be trying to land one perfect shot, or a shot that hurts Benavidez to where he can follow up. Yard is a weird case here in the UK. I've always believed in Yard's talent. I think he should have made changes in regards to his training many, many years ago, and I think he would have been a better fighter for it. Because he has natural talent, Yard, but I don't think he's ever really made the most of it. I must say, I did like the UFC style weigh-ins for Canelo Bud. Yeah, bro, that shit was packed out. Turkey and Dana won't last. Even yesterday, you could see it when Turkey said Dana got an announcement, and Dana was like, "Nah, I'll do it when I want." Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Turkey's going to want Hamza to be undisputed super middleweight champion. Turkey wanted him to kill Adames. He has plans for him, I think. Yeah, no doubt. He's Riyadh season ambassador, right? But speaking of 168, and again, disclaimer, when it comes to Cuban fighters, you know, very often these guys look very good until they don't. But Osleiz Iglesias at super middleweight, the Cuban dude, he recently just beat Vladimir Shishkin, who arguably beat William Skull. And he beat Shishkin quite comfortably, knocked him out in 8 rounds. Osleiz Iglesias is not your stereotypical Cuban. He's aggressive, but he's calculated and cerebral. Like, he had Shishkin hurt a lot of times in their fight. And he had a look. He had a little probe, had a look, but when he wasn't ready to go, he kind of held back until he was ready to go, and he took him out. I like what I see from Osleiz Iglesias at super middleweight. Big dude as well, hits hard. I think he's good. He's one that you need to be keeping an eye out on. I know I said the same about David Morrell. Not that David Morrell's a bad fighter, but Iglesias looks a level above, and he's very entertaining. Cuba's fighters now, the ones who are turning pro, I feel like they understand now that there is value in entertainment. You know, Morrell's entertaining, Iglesias is entertaining, Robesi Ramirez was entertaining, etc. So definitely look out for Iglesias at super middleweight if you haven't seen him. Yeah, Yard is too muscular, so he has to fight in spurts. Indeed, he does. But I think that style, he can carry out that game plan, though. You know, trying to punch with Benavidez at moments to try and catch him hard and quick. Good fight, though. I think it's a good fight. Haney versus Norman as well, I'm looking forward to. Because I think Norman... If Devin Haney has any residual effect from the Ryan Garcia fight, mentally I'm talking about, then Norman has a great chance. Because, again, I've said it on this channel, I really thought that Haney looked extremely nervous against Ramirez. And Norman is quite a pressure heavy guy. He hits hard, he's short, he's compact, he applies that pressure. I think people are overlooking Norman. I really do. Seems to believe in himself as well, which I like. Canelo would ice Hamza, probably right now. I'm not convinced by Hamza's chin. He does have size though, height and reach, power. Franklin's 1.5 year layoff is a problem. I think he's good to win. It's been 9 years since Klitschko fought in the amateurs. Yeah. Klitschko again, regardless if he wins, like winning is not enough for a guy like Ivan Klitschko. He has to look good, and I don't think he will. Personally. If he's going to make any noise, he has to look good. He is a massive dude. He's like 6'3", I think, Hamza Shiraz, and he's filled out as well. He's filled out a lot. Like he took care of Berlanga quite comfortably. Well, very comfortably. Yeah, I'm excited to see whether Donovan can keep the cool tonight and get the win. I think he will do, bro. By the way, like, no disrespect to Paddy Donovan and Lewis Crocker, because Donovan does have a bit of talent, but no disrespect to those guys. But where is the welterweight division when those two guys are fighting for a vacant title? When Rolly Romero is a welterweight champion. You know, welterweight historically has been like a super division in boxing. But, you know, this welterweight division is the weakest in my lifetime. I'm 31. It's the weakest in my lifetime. You know, I grew up through, like, Cotto, Mayweather, Margarito, Pacquiao in the division, followed by, like, Thurman, Spence, Crawford, Brook, Porter. Like, this welterweight division is criminally weak. Same with middleweight, though. Middleweight, another historical division in boxing, is so weak. Yep, Norman Jr., Abdullah Mason, the Vargas brothers, Keyshawn Davis, Shakur Stevenson, Kenneth Teofimo there as well, yeah. I like one of the Vargas kids. I think it's Emiliano. He looks good, man. He looks good. I like Abdullah Mason as well because, you know, that I liked the fight where he got dropped. A lot of fight fans will see that as a weakness, and yeah, maybe it is, shows defensive weakness, whatever. But I liked how he responded, man. He's got that bit between his teeth, man. He's an aggressive guy. He seems very mature for his age. You know, I've not heard much from him outside the ring, but he seems very mature for his age. Seems to be hungry. Seems to be willing to fight. I think he'll beat Sam Noakes. Sam Noakes is, I would describe Sam Noakes, so he's obviously a UK fighter. I've seen a lot of his fights. He's above domestic level, but he's not like world level. I would call him a European level type of fighter. Whereas I think Abdullah Mason has the potential to be world level. Sam Noakes does hit hard, so, you know, Mason's going to have to just be careful of it. But I think Mason's going to be way too offensively dynamic for Sam Noakes, personally. Good fight, though. Good fight. I'm looking forward to that one. I think Mason is one of America's brighter hopes because not only is he talented, but he's got a style that could translate. And that does matter when it comes to boxing, you know. Feels great to be a boxing fan again after the Canelo Bud fight. We got the monster from Japan Sunday morning. Yeah, and that's a good fight as well, man. Akhmadaliev is no slouch. He's kind of unorthodox. He feints a lot. He's quick. He's powerful. He's a southpaw. And that southpaw backhand, as we've seen, has given Inoue trouble. And I suspect that Akhmadaliev has more power than Cardenas and Neri, who both dropped Inoue. Plus, he's got speed to go along with it. I think Inoue wins, but I think it's a risky fight. Yeah, I remember those days as well, Lee Talks Boxing, when Crocker was on the MTK cards, yep. I agree, though, with your assessment. Yeah, could be a good European level guy, nothing more. I agree. Exactly, yeah. The welterweight division throughout has included the likes of Leonard, Robinson, Duran, Hearns, De La Hoya, Cotto, Pac-Man, yeah, Mayweather, many more. Exactly. Imagine Pac-Man versus Rolly prime for prime. Exactly. Like prime for prime. Rolly Romero, wouldn't be a sparring partner for a guy like Cotto or Manny Pacquiao. Even guys like Paul Williams back in the day. Shane Mosley, Trinidad. Yeah, I've heard a fair bit about Callum Walsh, but I've not seen a lot of him fight. The guy he's fighting, Fernando Vargas Jr., he's not like, he's a powerful kid by looks of him, but he looks pretty limited. When it comes to the Vargas boys, Emiliano's the one who looks talented to me. Yeah, okay, Dave Allen's looking good in training. He's not super overweight like he was back in July. He's near 18.5 stones at the moment, looking like he'll beat Makhmudov. I'm not convinced he will, bro, even if he's in shape. I don't think he will. Personally. Again, I don't rate, obviously, like, we've seen where Makhmudov is. We see him get exposed against Caballel and Villanello, but I don't think Dave Allen's close to any... Obviously, he's nowhere near close to Caballel. I don't think he's close to Villanello in terms of boxing ability, to tell you the truth. Yeah, we was having this discussion earlier. I think it's a really good fight, Jamie. It's the best fight on the undercard. Two aggressive guys going at it. Come forward fighters, unbeaten. And Embely's got the experience. I actually think he's a faster guy. He's more compact than Lester Martinez. I think he holds his shape better. Throws tighter punches in combo. Martinez is bigger though. He's a bit younger. I favour Embely in that fight, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it go either way. Again, like, Embely's one of those fighters you just have to watch because he's so entertaining. Like, he always makes for good fights. I don't think his level is much higher than what it is now, but he's exciting. I agree, Lee. So, like, boxing right now. So, this weekend we have an amazing, like, on paper it's a great weekend, let's say that. But the problem with boxing right now, it feels like it's all or nothing. So, we'll get a weekend like this, where we have a lot of shit going on. Then it feels like for the next 4 weeks, nothing happens. It feels like everything is concentrated in one fight week, where it's not spread across the board, which makes it a bit annoying. I don't mean to sound like a boxing snob, but the level of competition and quality has gone down in the welterweight and middleweight divisions. Middleweight used to have the likes of Hagler, Hearns, Golovkin, Ben. Yeah, even outside of that, bro, like... Imagine, I'm trying to think of contenders from back in the day. A guy like Martin Murray, for example, would be a top 3 middleweight these days. Easily. Like, I would say Martin Murray is in and around the same level as Adames. And back in the day, Martin Murray was called always a scrub. Like, middleweight is so weak now. Yeah, he's fun. He's fun, Crocker. He's a fun fighter. Another good fight on the undercard, by the way, on that Crocker fight, is Ishmael Davis versus Aguiarco. That's a good fight. I actually think Ishmael Davis beats him, personally. Yeah, a great chin can only last so long. Joe Joyce he relied on his chin too much, and you see what happened there. Yeah, true that. I got a lot of respect for Joe Joyce, though. Because while he was in his prime, he tried to fight anyone he could. That's all you can really ask for. And yeah, he came up short against Zhili Zhang, never recovered. No, I think Caballel would beat... I think he would set about Dave Allen, honestly. He'd fuck him up. Caballel's decent, man. Caballel is a high work rate guy, good guard, good body work for a heavyweight. He has unique attributes for a heavyweight. You don't see a lot of heavyweights work the body. Usyk does, in his own way. He's more cerebral to the body, but his body work's very effective. We saw that against Tyson Fury, I think especially in that first fight. But not many heavyweights work the body, and Caballero does. Speaking of heavyweights, have you guys heard a rumour? I heard a rumour going around, I'm not sure whether it's true. Moses Itauma versus Frank Sanchez. That's what I've been hearing. Okay, apparently that fight's been ordered by the IBF as an eliminator. I don't mind that fight. I don't mind it. If Frank Sanchez can get back to his prior form, I actually think it's a decent little test for Moses. Because Frank Sanchez can move, he can be elusive. He could take Moses some rounds, which is what he needs. But, you know, I still can't get that performance against Caballero out of my head. Like, Sanchez looked injured in that fight, though, but who knows. Leicester reminds me a bit of Golovkin, but I have Embily just doing enough to win. I think he might outwork him, bro. But again, who knows? It's going to be a good fight. I've got a weird feeling that Canelo Bud is going to be similar to Marvin Hagler versus Roberto Duran. Listen, I hope it's similar to Duran. Sorry, I hope it's similar to Hagler Hearns, man. It's ridiculous. I got to pay $30 for DAZN. I know a lot of people here that unsubscribe to it. Yeah, what I don't like about DAZN, bro, and I've grown to realise this, like, they don't value their existing customers at all. So they'll offer like different deals for new customers, but like, I've been subbed to DAZN now for a few years. I've got nothing from these cunts, honestly. It's crazy. It's crazy, you know. Yeah, Usyk Caballero, I'd like to see. I'd like to see it. But, you know, we've got another decent heavyweight fight coming up in Parker versus Wardley. I think that'll be a good fight. I feel like Wardley's going to be in fun fights regardless, man, whether he wins or loses. That's going to be a good fight as well. I am looking forward to that. But again, I think that's pay-per-view out here. Wardley versus Parker, which is crazy. It's a good fight, but I don't want to pay for it. Yeah, Caballero beat Sanchez up, although Sanchez looked to be hindered. Yeah, I really fail to believe that Sanchez wasn't injured in that fight. Yeah, me too. Apparently he's coming back towards the end of the year, Justice Hooney. Apparently he's coming back soon, according to Eddie Hearn. The only men that are in line, in my opinion, for Usyk to face are Parker, Wardley or Caballero, that's it. Yeah, I mean, if Wardley beats Parker, then he's got a great argument. You know, he's beaten arguably the #1 contender. Well, Parker is the #1 contender when you consider previous form in recent times. So if Wardley beats him, he would deserve a shot. Lee Talks Boxing. I liked it when I could sub to DAZN for a month and then cancel it. Did that for Warrington Lopez and Wood Lara before they stopped it. Yeah, they make it more difficult, man. They make it more difficult. They're becoming scummy. Caballero versus Itauma is another really good matchup, to be honest. Once Moses has more fights, I would eventually like to see it. Yeah, I would as well. I would as well. Listen, I like Itauma. I think there's a lot of potential there, but you know, we have to pump the brakes sometimes with prospects, especially at heavyweight. One wrong move at heavyweight and it's over. You know, a prospect can be looking good and flashy and you know, really talented. One bad bit of matchmaking can totally end that. And I think at this stage, there's a lot of talk about Moses fighting for titles, fighting Usyk. I just think he needs rounds, personally. Give him some, like, tough, durable guys. Like, apparently Hrgovic turned the fight down, though. That would have been a good fight for him. So I was kind of disappointed in Hrgovic. if that's true. Yo, David Tua was a menace, by the way. David Tua was a menace. You know, there's been weaker heavyweight champions than David Tua, and David Tua never won a belt. I thought Sanchez was fighting a Jagber again. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. No, you are right. There was rumours of that for ages. And that was rumoured by the IBF, but now the IBF are saying it's going to be Sanchez and Moses. Yeah, Wardley, when it comes to boxing skills and defence, it's not there, but he's got the chin, heart and hand speed and power to be in fun fights, no doubt. Yeah, and it makes him dangerous. Yeah, I think there needs to be a bit of caution with Moses. Especially, you know, there's not many heavyweights who pull up trees at his age. There's just not. There's, you know, like Tyson's a rare exception, etc. But yeah, they need to give him time. They need to give him rounds, like I said. And we're talking about guys like Frank Sanchez, like Hrgovic. You know, have a couple of those sort of fights. And then go from there, you know? We still haven't seen how he takes a shot either. What happens when it goes later? What happens when his opponent's not standing in front of him and the opponent's giving him movement? There's still a lot we don't know about Moses. And I think he needs, like I said, he needs rounds against different styles. Considering the hype though, you know, at the same time, you can't take too much time either, you know? They've kind of set themselves up now, and fans have expectations, so maybe he's not going to get these learning fights. And that's the issue when it comes to marketing a fighter too quickly. That's the issue. But, you know, that's the route they've gone down. Yeah, Tua was, for a 5'10 heavyweight, had a very good chin and was strong as a bull. Yeah, he was. He was, man. That left hook was something gnarly. Like, There's big punches in boxing, but you know sometimes you look at boxing as boxing, you don't really think of like the dire physical consequences of boxing. When I've seen like David Tua knockouts on tape, you look at them and you think, fuck, that's going to damage that guy. That's going to damage that guy. Like his knockout over John Ruiz, if you remember that, bro. John Ruiz was on button moon. He was in a different stratosphere, man. It's crazy, crazy power, that guy. He just never had the other tools to really pull it together, David Tua. Like slow feet. He wasn't always in the greatest of shape. Having said that, his fight with Ike Ibeabuchi was insane. One of the best heavyweight fights that people don't talk about. And the fact that nobody went down in that fight is insane as well. Like, imagine we got Ike Ibeabuchi, man, like, his career wasn't cut short. I'd have loved to have seen what happened with him. How far he would have gone. And considering it was the late 90s, Holyfield was on the downward slide. Tyson was obviously on the downward slide. He would have definitely won a belt, in my opinion. He would have definitely won a title. How dominant he would have been, I don't know. I think he would have lost to Lennox Lewis. I think he would have lost to Vitaly Klitschko. I think he would have beaten a young Vladimir, though, before Emmanuel Stewart. I think he would have been a very good heavyweight, man, but it is what it is. You know, you can't do these what-ifs, but they are fascinating. There are certain fighters whose careers get cut short, and you just think, what if? He's one of those fighters. As is, if you guys remember, Dmitry Pirog, who knocked out Danny Jacobs, of course. He was another one, had a lot of talent. Edwin Valero, Salvador Sanchez, all these guys, man, whose careers got cut short. I would watch that fight, Moses versus Torres. I'd watch that fight because Torres, for all his flaws, he is quick, he is powerful. I do think Moses is more naturally talented, I've got to be honest. And, you know, I wasn't all that impressed with Torres against Villanello. But yeah, it's a good fight. I'd watch it. It's a good fight. And yeah, like you say, they're both pretty aggressive and they throw punches, put them together, yeah. Hrgovic could beat a Talma if he takes the fight seriously, which is dubious, yeah. He's a tough guy, Hrgovic, but it seems like he's got one foot out of the door already. Aikai Ibushi versus Samuel Peter. Battle of the Nigerian heavyweights. Who would you have? Ibi Ibushi. Although Samuel Peter, in retrospect, I think gets a little underrated. In his prime, Samuel Peter was another guy who hit very hard. Watch his knockout over Jeremy... I think the guy's name was Jeremy Stevens. Bald guy. Watch his knockout over Jeremy Stevens. Bro, that sounded like somebody took a baseball bat and smashed somebody in the head with it. It was a crazy knockout. Like, Samuel Peter could really punch. And he could box a bit, because if you watch that second James Toney fight, I know Toney was a fat middleweight at heavyweight, but it's James Toney. Like, low-key, like, he actually outboxed James Toney in their second fight. But Samuel Peter was a decent fighter. Like, we've hyped up a lot of contenders in recent years, like guys like Dillian Whyte, for example. I'm not convinced a prime Dillian Whyte beats a prime Samuel Peter, to be honest with you. Peter was more durable for a start, and I think he hit harder. But again, his issue was he was overweight. Yeah, silver medalist. Yeah, he lost to Jalalov in the final. Decent fighter. Do I think a prime Tommy Morrison beats Tyson Fury? It'd be a great fight to watch. Personally, no. Like, Tommy Morrison had athletic ability. He had power. He had, like, what I call raw attributes that you want in a fighter, but his chin wasn't the greatest for a start. And I don't think his boxing skills were, like, super... I don't think they were all that fleshed out, to be honest with you. But he was a decent fighter, Tommy Morrison. He gets a little bit overlooked these days. But again, you have a prime Tommy Morrison in this era. Bro, he causes damage, man. He causes damage. But the same goes for like a guy like Ray Mercer. Like a prime Ray Mercer, for example, who knocked out Tommy Morrison. Like, Ray Mercer's jab was something special. His jab was like, it wasn't always the most varied, but Ray Mercer had a great power jab, like a shotgun jab. Watch his fight with Lennox Lewis. Ray Mercer versus Lewis. We obviously know, like, Lewis's 2 losses, he just got caught and stopped. But if you watch that fucking fight with Ray Mercer, to my recollection, because I've seen a lot of Lennox Lewis fights back, obviously, to my recollection, Ray Mercer was the only guy to go jab for jab with Lennox Lewis and arguably out-jab him. Mercer was a good fighter. But again, a little inconsistent, though. A little inconsistent. Yeah, that would be a crazy fight. McClellan versus Golovkin at 160. I think that would be a war, bro. That would be a fucking war. I think Golovkin's durability would see him through in a really hard fight, late stoppage. But it'd be a great fucking fight. That's an amazing fight. Yeah, it was definitely stronger than a lot of people like to make out, Lee. Like I said, I think you take certain contenders from the Klitschko era and they do damage today. Like, I'll be honest, like, I'll die on this hill, and I am a massive, like, when I was growing up, I was a massive David Haye fan. But I don't think, like, prime Anthony Joshua beats a prime David Haye. I'm not convinced he does. I'm not saying he couldn't, but I would give David Haye a massive chance in that fight, a prime David Haye. People forget how good David Haye actually was, man, I'm telling you. He was a good fighter, but the issue with David Haye, man, like, he was always like 1 foot out of boxing towards the end. As soon as he became a Cruiserweight world champion, he was always like one foot out of boxing. Yeah, so apparently Zerdo's got a shoulder injury that he sustained in his last fight against Dorticos. But, you know, listen, I really like Opetaya. I like Zerdo, but I'm kind of getting frustrated with Opetaya's career. But it's not his fault. He can't get the fights, but it's getting a bit frustrating. The only good thing is he's staying active. If you can't get a big opponent, just fight whoever you can. I think that should be That should be the way fighters do it if they can't get big opponents. They should still fight anyway, and he's trying to do that. So hopefully we get that fight next year, early next year, because it needs to happen. Prime Tommy Morrison never reached his full ability. The only time he ever really trained for a bout was the Foreman bout. Had to be military. Sorry, he had to be in a military facility to be fully focused for Foreman. Yeah, he was a wild boy, Tommy Morrison. Like as soon as he starred in Rocky, you know, the women, the booze, the drugs, etc. You know, that happens to a lot of people, a lot of men, cross cultures. That happens to a lot of guys when they suddenly make it from nothing quickly, particularly when it happens quickly. A lot of guys lose their way. A lot of guys lose their way. If I had that sort of success, particularly if I was young, I know myself from 10 years ago, I'd have probably gone off the rails as well, to be honest with you. Yeah, exactly. Ray Mercer's jab almost knocked Larry Holmes down in the first round of their bout when landing his jab flush on Holmes' chin, and then Holmes went on to beat him, yeah. Well, Holmes was like the master of the jab, though, man. His jab was like a wand. I still think Larry Holmes had the best jab, I would say. Certainly a top 3 jab in heavyweight history. See, that's one of my unpopular opinions, though. When it comes to, like, historical fighters, so let's say fighters from 1990 backwards. When it comes to fantasy fights at heavyweight, and this is all fucking hypothetical, but I don't think anybody does better than Larry Holmes in terms of, like, head-to-head matchups. Unpopular opinion, I actually think Larry Holmes would outbox a prime Ali. That's an unpopular opinion, I know. But, you know, that's how much I rate Larry Holmes. It's a shame Larry Holmes' era was considered weak, because he was a hell of a fighter, man. I think it's because I liked his style more than Ali's, though. I liked Larry Holmes' style more. Yeah, we've seen Cruiserweight go up to heavyweight. I wonder why we never saw any heavyweights lose weight or go down to Cruiserweight. It is weight draining themselves, though, yeah. I mean, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Wilder was talking about it for a while, wasn't he? Do you remember when Wilder was talking about going down to Cruiserweight and then Bridgerweight? He first said about going down to Cruiserweight, then he was saying about Bridgerweight. But it never happened, but maybe honestly, that's what I would do if I was Wilder. I'd try and get my ass down to Bridgerweight and win a title. Yeah, he splattered Chisora. Yeah, Prime Hay can definitely beat AJ in his prime. I agree. I agree. And yeah, of course. You know. But so, again, so is AJ. David Haye's one of those fighters because of like how he conducted himself at times, and there was a lot of hype around him at the time. I think it does take away from the fighter he was. I know he didn't necessarily... He didn't achieve the greatest resume. And I wish he actually stuck around at Cruiserweight a lot longer, because there were some great fights for him. Thomas Adamek, for example, Steve Cunningham. Like, he could have had a stronger resume and etc., but I do think he was a very talented fighter, David Haye. I do think he was a very talented fighter. It'd be a great fight, though, AJ and David Haye. It'd be a great fight. I remember not staying up, but this was years ago, when David Haye beat Nikolai Valuev. I was like 15 years old, whatever I was, 14, 15, I forget when it happened. But I remember watching that fight on a live stream, all the way back then in like 2009, whenever it was. And I was pretty convinced as a young like boxing fan who didn't really know boxing that Valuev was going to walk him down and destroy him, but yeah, Haye got the decision. It was a close fight. Like, you could argue that Valuev did enough. You could argue Haye did enough. It's a close fight. It's a fight I've never watched back, though. It's a fight I've never watched back. Yo, that would be great. Yeah, Prime Tour versus Prime Tyson would be a great fight. I actually think Tyson in that fight would revert to boxing. By the way, I think Tyson would revert to boxing because pure boxing, Tyson is a lot better than David Tua, and I think he could box against David Tua. Yeah, Holmes was a very good fighter. Holmes had a style that was like almost not ahead of its time, but it's a style that I think translates through the eras, man. You know, you go back to a certain time period. I don't think certain styles would translate necessarily as boxing techniques evolved. In the 50s, I wonder who would have won. Rocky Marciano versus Sonny Liston if they fought. Definitely would have been a classic. It's a shame Sonny was ducked and gatekept in his era, unfortunately. Yeah, I do wonder. Like, you would assume that Liston had the power to walk like Marciano into something, but at the same time, you know, considering Marciano's aggressive style, but at the same time, you know, you bully the bully in Sonny Liston. Like, nobody was a better bully than Marciano, like, and he couldn't really be bullied. So what happens if Liston can't get him out of there early and Marciano is just continuously walking him down, continuously clubbing at the arms, the hips, the body? I think if Liston were to win that fight, it would have to be within the first 4. And if he doesn't knock him out in the first 4, that's when Marciano would take over, maybe force a late stoppage. That'd be a great fight, though. In my opinion, both Klitschkos beat current Usyk. I certainly think Vitali's a harder style matchup. I actually think Usyk might match up quite well with Vlad. I think I would favour Usyk over Vlad and favour Vitali over Usyk. And it's not because of the narrative that people like to say that Vitali was a better boxer than Vlad. I actually don't think he was. Vitali was a better athlete. I don't even know if he was a better athlete, but he was a lot more unorthodox. That hands down, lean back approach. Actually very fast feet for a heavyweight. Decent hand speed, punches in bunches, punches from weird angles. He could throw counters with very little tell. Good feints as well. I think Vitali's got more tools to offset Usyk. Vladimir, I'm not as sure. I think Vitali's a harder fight for Usyk than Vladimir is. Vitali's another one of those guys who in head-to-head scenarios I think would do very well, despite the lack of resume. I try and look at the fighter's skill set or uniqueness and go from there. Because although Vladimir's resume is underrated, Vitali's resume is weak, I'll be honest, it is weak. A prime David Haye versus a prime Roy Jones at Cruiserweight. I think David Haye would beat him, honestly. We never saw like a prime Roy at Cruiserweight. We saw Roy at heavyweight against John Ruiz. And if I'm thinking that Roy Jones is similar at Cruiserweight to how he was against John Ruiz, if he's similar at Cruiserweight, I think Haye would catch him personally. What's up, J9? What's up, J9898? How you doing, man? Unpopular opinions in boxing. One of them, like I said earlier, is like I really do think Larry Holmes would beat Ali. He's not the only guy, but unpopular opinions in boxing. I'm trying to think of an actual unpopular one because I feel like that one I just said is kind of just like a hardcore hipsters one. Unpopular opinions in boxing. I'm trying to think of something current. Something that's relevant now. Let me think on that one. Yeah. Yeah, Vitali's very much underappreciated, overshadowed by the success of his brother. Yeah, 100%. Although, in defense of Vlad, one thing, like, people always say, like, Vitali was a lot tougher. Depends on what you mean by tough. How do you define tough? So for some people, when they say tough, they mean, like, physical robustness. Like, how strong someone's body is, etc., whatever. How much they can take, like, what their chin's like, etc. When I think of the word tough, I actually don't defer to the physical. I always defer to the mental. And one thing I feel about Vladimir, where he gets underrated, is actually his mental toughness, considering the setbacks he had in his career. Because most heavyweights, I feel, after like the Ross Purity disaster, would have been done. Or the Corey Sanders disaster. They would have been done. You know, his own brother advising him that he should retire after the Brewster fight, that he was done. And then he went on to have such a successful career. I feel like Vladimir's toughness in terms of mental is underrated. Very underrated. Because I think he always knew his chin wasn't great. He fought with that kind of mindset. But he didn't let it deter him. Unpopular opinion, Turkey's doing a good job currently. I guess I could relate one to Turkey. I think we are starting to see the downside of Saudi's involvement in boxing. When you get like stacked weekends like this, or like the Benavidez Yard card or Bivol Beterbiev card, all these big fights on one card, I think it dilutes the schedule for the next few weeks, because all of these guys are fighting on one card, and as a result, it doesn't look like we're getting a steady stream of boxing. It's like all or nothing right now, so we're getting weeks in the schedule where nothing happens. Not only that, I think there's a lot of fighters who hold out now for a Saudi payday. They're taking less risks if the Saudis aren't involved. They're not willing to risk it because in hope of getting that call. I do think we are starting to see some of the downsides to the Saudi Arabia project in boxing. I do think we're starting to see the downside of it. Because nothing is always positive, right? Yeah, boxing in Saudi is about Vision 2030, diversifying Saudi's income. Given it's all about money, why wouldn't Turkey make fights like AJ Canelo or versus Jake Paul? Exactly, yeah. And that's another thing, right? That's another thing. You think Marciano's style would have been a problem for Usyk, especially if they fought in the 15-round era? Rocky got dropped, but with his power, I don't see Usyk surviving all fight. The thing is with Marciano, though, he was 180-odd pounds. Usyk's significantly bigger. I know Usyk gets called a small heavyweight by today's standards, but compared to Marciano, he's a bit of a giant, to be honest with you. He's a giant. I think he'd be too big. Personally, plus for skill, obviously. I think he'd be too big, mate. So, like, when you actually think about Marciano and fantasy fights, you actually have to be matching him with cruiserweights and even light heavyweights. Like, Marciano is what, like, Beterbiev size, basically. Pretty much. Because what, like, Beterbiev probably rehydrates to what, 200 maybe? 200 pounds, 195? Beterbiev rehydrates heavier than what Marciano weighed in at in some fights. So these are the sort of fantasy fights we have to be putting Marciano in. Names like Corey Sanders, Derek Chisora, Samuel Peter, and even Chris Arreola weren't garbage contenders at all. Good contenders. Saunders hit very hard. Or Sanders, sorry. Yeah, Corey Sanders is one of those guys who could have done a lot more in his career. He was a quick southpaw with power. He had ability, but he never took boxing seriously, as we know. He liked golf. Golf was his passion. Golf was his passion. But he was a talented fighter, man. And what a lot of people don't know, he even beat Johnny Nelson. That's a trivia for you. He beat Johnny Nelson. Bet you didn't know that. Corey Sanders. In fact, I've got to check that myself. I might have made that up. I could be full of shit. Corey Sanders. Yeah, he beat Johnny Nelson, yeah. There you go. Hardcore Boxing Knowledge 101. I thought I was making it up. For a minute. I actually didn't know, though, he beat Michael Sprott, British contender from back in the day. Yeah, they seem to have their heads screwed on, both Atalma and Hamza Shiraz. Which is always good for a fighter, especially a young fighter. Best fights I've seen. I always go back to... I try to think of like obscure fights. One fight, because it's got a bit of a personal connection to me, would be Graham Earl versus Michael Katsidis. That was like 2007. And it was on ITV4 in the UK. That was a great fight. It was over in like 3 or 4 rounds, I think. But it was a great fight. When Katsidis dropped Graham Earl, he was setting about Graham Earl, quite frankly, rocking him all over the place. He drops him. And after a while, Graham Earl's corner throwing the towel and the referee just throws it out. He wasn't having the retirement. And soon after, fucking Graham Earl just drops fucking Katsidis with his own work. And it's such a great fight, man. Katsidis ended up winning, but it was such a good fight. Like, how often do you see a referee chuck a towel out? Because they can. They can. But yeah, Graham Earl versus Katsidis was a great fight, man. Another fight I always love to reminisce about as well is Guillermo Jones versus Denis Lebedev. Brutal. Just brutal. Another one of my favourite fights, because we spoke about this the other day and I rewatched it, was Juan Manuel Marquez versus Juan Diaz. That was a great fight, man. Marquez versus Diaz. And I don't like Max Kellerman at all, but he basically summarised it after that fight happened. He dropped a really good quote, which was, what we just saw was a really good young fighter get beat by a great old fighter. And that's basically what that fight was. We're talking about the first fight as well. Provodnikov Bradley was an amazing fight. Provodnikov was a little unlucky in that fight as well, because there was a moment where he was robbed of a knockdown, if my memory serves me correct. Or am I making that up? Because I'm sure he dropped Bradley and it didn't get called a knockdown, and that would have won him the fight. But that was a perfect storm, because Bradley was coming off that obviously extremely controversial win over Pacquiao. And he kind of went into that Provodnikov fight with a point to prove, and it was a hell of a fight, man. Like Bradley, listen, Tim Bradley was a good fighter, man. Tim Bradley was a good fighter, tough guy, good chin. Fought a lot of good competition. Like, Tim Bradley was a good fighter. He really was. He really was. Like, the Pacquiao asterisks aside, man, you look at some of the guys he fought, it's kind of crazy. Marquez, Pacquiao 3 times. Provodnikov, Lamont Peterson, when Peterson was like in his prime, Kendall Holt, massive puncher, Junior Witter away from home. I think he fought Devin Alexander as well, who was unbeaten, I think. You know, he had a great resume, Tim Bradley. Really good resume. Good fighter. Good fighter. He's turned into a bit of a cornball now, though, as a commentator. He's kind of like bought and paid for, which is a shame. It is a shame, but as a fighter, Tim Bradley had a very good career. Very good career, man. Also liked his nickname as well, the Desert Storm. Although I never understood why he was called Desert Storm. Did he come from a desert or something? I don't even know. Tommy Coyle versus Brizuela, the Argentinian fella. Yeah, because he was recycled a couple of times, wasn't he, Brizuela? Didn't he fight Luke Campbell? Dario Brizuela. Is it Dario? Or Daniel, something like that? Daniel Brizuela. Yeah, he fought Luke Campbell as well. Thoughts on the Talmo? Yeah, I was talking about him earlier. Just really talented fighter. I think he's got a lot of upside, but he needs rounds, basically. To put it short. Yeah, Porter as well. Yeah, all of these guys who work in... all of these ex-fighters, for the most part, they seem bought and paid for, most of them. And I do like Porter personally. He seems like a really nice guy. I do like Porter. He's always like a positive guy. I think he's like good energy. I think he's a good sort of face of boxing, like a good advertisement for boxing. But yeah, as a commentator, again, he's, you know, a prime Johnny Tapia versus Loma. I think Loma's too much, bro. Tapia was a good fighter though. I always when I watched that guy's he had like a documentary or a movie. I watched it. And hearing about that guy's life, like growing up, bro, I don't get emotional. I'm not an emotional person. Like I'm not an overly emotional person, but like hearing about Tapia's upbringing, bro, that shit is rough. The fact that he even gathered the strength to kind of focus on trying to forge a career for himself is quite admirable. Because there's growing up in rough scenarios and rough environments, and then there's growing up in the trauma that he grew up in. It's a different level. So yeah, I've got a lot of respect for a guy like Tapia, and you could tell throughout his life as well, throughout his career, he was still fighting those demons, but dealing with it the best he could. He was carrying that burden, and he was while carrying that burden, yeah, he made mistakes, and yeah, he acted out. But I feel like you listen to him and you listen to his old interviews, you could tell that guy had a good heart. And it's like, I don't want to get too philosophical or religious, but you know, that's what life is about. The books told us that it's, you know, life, we do carry burden. You know, and considering what he went through, I think he dealt with it pretty well. And he was a beacon of hope for a lot of people as well. That's when you know, I was having this conversation yesterday, but you see a lot of people now who are indoctrinated into like ideologies, and you know, they lose their humanity. They go down a dark path, and I think the human spirit or the soul, I don't think everyone has one. I think a lot of people's souls are killed while they're alive. But I think the greatest way of knowing whether you or somebody has a soul, if they're honest about it, is if you look in the mirror and you see your childhood self staring back at you. That's when you know you still have that spark. That's when you know you still have that soul. Because the child in you, the boy in you, essentially represents curiosity. It represents curiosity for adventure, for risk-taking, for chance-taking, for adventure. And that's where bravery comes from. That's where bravery comes from. The worst advice I've seen given, philosophically, is to be the man you have to kill the boy inside. I think you become dead when you do that. You can't be the man when that boy doesn't exist anymore. Because like I said, the boy represents curiosity, and curiosity is what drives courage, heroism, you know, that's what it is. That's just my opinion. And onto Johnny Tapia, you always saw that in his eyes. You saw that little boy in his eyes. Does that make sense? It's probably way too much for a Saturday afternoon. It's probably way too much. Philosophical nonsense, maybe. But that's the energy I got from Tapia. It was always like that kid was still inside. And I feel like once you lose that as a human being, I feel then like you can either take it metaphorically or literally, spiritually, however you want to take it. When you kill the child inside, that's when the devil will take his, that's when the devil will lock his horns into you. That's what I believe. Truly believe that. Hand on heart. And I've come to this realization relatively recently. If you kill that child inside, you are basically dead already. That's how I feel. I could be wrong. That's my own philosophical take, I guess, right? Yeah, Max Kellerman is what he is, man. Max Kellerman's he's an industry guy. He is what he is. Yeah, Tapia had a tattoo on his chest, La Vida Loca, yeah. He's a great fighter as well. His fights with Ayala. Yeah, My Crazy Life, right, or something like that, or My Life's Crazy. I think that's what it means. Yeah, Terence Crawford, I think, is a great fighter and a Hall of Famer, but I can't put him on the same floor of greatness as Floyd, Sugar Ray Leonard, Manny Pacquiao. He doesn't have a resume. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I hope. Listen, I'm gonna go in Crazy D3 with the hope that I'm surprised. Basically, is how I'm feeling about it. But I just hope I'm surprised by it. Pink Collar Sports TV when? I am debating making a totally separate channel. I am debating making like a commentary channel where I can like fresh out my thoughts in better, more succinct, in a more succinct manner kind of thing. But I do want to do a commentary channel eventually, like just talking about what I want to talk about, things that are not like either boxing related or on the other channel, crime related. And I want to talk about deeper topics at some point in time. But we'll see if we get to it, it's time. It's time like anything in life, it's time. But I think about those sort of things a lot more as I've gotten older. those sort of topics. Yeah, bro. The other channel's verified. That got verified pretty quickly, to be fair. I wondered whether they would, but they did. Yeah, they verified it. I got the I've got the silver plaque somewhere. I don't even know where I fucking put it. I've not hung it up or anything. I'm just glad. I'm glad I got it, just because I can say I got it, but I don't really care about it, to be honest with you. I don't really care about it. But it's cool. It's kind of cool. I should really hang it up and, but fuck it. It's probably stuck in a cupboard somewhere. I think it's stuck in my wardrobe. But yeah, I've got the silver plaque. Which is cool. But, again, I do plan on... I would love to make another channel. Don't know what I'd call it. But the topics would be varied and different. And it'd be like a traditional commentary type of channel, where we could talk about like philosophical things or things that we see in society, etc. Conspiracy, whatever, anything I want to talk about, basically. Yeah, I mean, how do we, like, what... you know, what is an all-time great at the end of the day? Like, how do you judge it? Like, if you're, let's say I'm the 20th best middleweight in the world. Like, let's say people consider me like 20th to 18th best middleweight of all time. Am I an all-time great? Like, what's the cutoff for an all-time great? Do you have to be top 5 in a division of all time? Like, what's the cutoff? Like, I think we get too caught up in this, like, all-time great thing, and I think we get too caught up in it because a lot of it is just perception and conjecture, really, isn't it? Yeah, it is kind of crazy. But that's YouTube for you, crazy D3. Like, you literally need to make... Like, this channel's never going to be big because I don't put, like, I don't put effort into it in regards to, like, editing or anything. This channel's never going to be big. I feel like I've got ideas for this channel that I've never acted upon that could do well, I think, but I don't know. I'm one of those people. I've really got to want to do something to do it. And I get, like, I could be more strategic with this channel. Like, I could do more trolling heavy content. Not trolling, but antagonistic, which I like doing when I want to do it, but I've got to be in the mood to do it. Like, there's things that you can do to, like, garner a following and, you know, the tried and tested methods. We know the tried and tested methods in YouTube boxing scene. And there are things you could do, but I've got to want to do it, mate. I've got to want to do it to do it. I just can't follow a script and follow a blueprint. Because again, like I said earlier, don't kill that child inside. The child represents curiosity. You know, you try and follow a path, you try and follow a game plan, it's just fucking mundane. It's mundane. Just throw shit at a wall, breathe fucking smoke and see what happens. That's my philosophy. That's my philosophy. I don't believe as much these days in planning and fucking being meticulous with it. Just fucking do what you want to do. Do what you believe in, I guess, and see where it goes. Thank you, Neto. Thank you, man. Yeah, you can make... There's different arguments for all-time greats. I've never been one of those people, really, who's been interested in, like, listing my top 10 greatest fighters of all time, or... I've never really been interested, personally. Like, I feel like there's great fighters and there's not great fighters, you know? There's great fighters, there's good fighters. I think the whole ranking thing is so subjective, it doesn't prove anything, man. What's up, Bruce? How you doing, man? Hopefully you enjoy the boxing tonight, bro. Am I going to make more prediction discussion? Yeah, 100%. I've just got, again, it's one of them things, I've got to be in the mood to do it. Like, I've got to be invested in a fight for whatever reason to do it. I do like the Aguiarco-Davis fight, though. I do think, I've got a feeling that Davis is going to beat Aguiarco. Because I do think Davis is a better boxer, but it's whether Aguiarco's physical presence can offset that. You definitely should, bro. If you're feeling the urge to create, why not, bro? Just do it. As Shia LaBeouf would say. Just do it. Funny you say that. I've really been debating it. Like, because I kind of would like to go back to the old school and have panels. Because way back in the day, I used to invite people on. Granted, it used to be people who I knew on this scene, like Mark, Unrivaled, or Nordic, or... It'd be people I knew, but I have thought about doing it. The only problem is, bro, like online there's a lot of idiots. There's a lot of clowns, and I don't like people who have bad manners, who talk over people. Listen, I expect shit to get heated, people to disagree, back and forth. But there's that, and there's just basic fucking manners, and I don't like people who continuously interject when someone else is talking. That sort of shit boils my piss. Don't have a patience for it, to tell you the truth. I don't have a patience for it, but I'd like to get into more discussions with people, yeah. I would like to get like more panels going, or some panels going in the future. But I just can't tolerate that sort of behaviour from people when there's a lot of people like that who are more so more interested in getting their point across more so than contributing to the actual discussion, more so than contributing to the discussion itself. Just basic fucking manners, innit? Just basic manners. And again, it's not about I want this shit to be like fucking prim and proper. You know, you guys know me and know my thoughts on the world. It's not that. It's just basic manners. That's what I kind of would like. But, you know, I think he just had enough, bro. Unrivaled. I think he just had enough. And listen. There's a lot about this scene I don't like, obviously, and I understand why he would come to that conclusion. Yeah, man, we had the panels back in the day, man. It was good fun. We had some banter. We would talk shit. You know, go back and forth. We would agree. We would disagree. But it wasn't that deep. It wasn't that deep. Like, honestly, like those days of being on boxing panels were genuinely the most fun I've had on YouTube. Like, more fun than anything I've done on the other channel. Like, they were the funnest days on YouTube, just fucking going on panels and having a chat, having a laugh. Like I said, bit of banter. Those were the days, man. Those were the days. Yeah, I have been on BDA a handful of times, maybe like 5 times. I actually won. This is what people don't realise. I'm actually the longest serving champion in boxing. I actually won the BDA trivia way back in the day. The BDA trivia quiz on it was streamed, and I think I beat who did I beat? I think it was Recognize. You know, Recognize the Matrix. I think I beat him in a trivia battle. So I'm actually the longest serving champion in boxing. That was like fucking 6 years ago. Maybe like 6 years ago. So I'm actually the undisputed BDA trivia champion, and I've never defended my title. I'm like fucking Freza Quendo, just hanging around. I'm like Charlo, never get stripped. Or maybe nobody wants to fight me. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. Maybe nobody wants the smoke. To be fair though, these days my trivia knowledge is a lot less than it was then. I was like hardcore boxing back then. I'm not so much these days. And it's not about I'm not going to go back to being a hardcore. I'd still call myself a hardcore, whatever that means, but my ear's just not as close to the ground as it used to be. No, I haven't. I don't even think I've got his number, bro, to tell you the truth. See, I would get in touch with him, but I don't have his number because his old number would have been on an old phone that I broke. So yeah, I got no way of getting in touch with Mark. I do miss those days though, man. We had some good banter. So I feel like me and him had decent chemistry when we was on together. Yeah, Coogan blocked me. Like Porky these days, I don't have an issue with Porky. I just went at him because I forgot what the reason even was. I think it was something as simple as... So, it was a card that Eddie Hearn announced, which was a good card objectively. And I said, yeah, it's a good card, fair play to Eddie Hearn. Because I'm one of those people, if a promoter does a good card, I'd say it. And then I got a couple of his Hmong fans in the comments, oh, you're an Eddie Hearn fanboy, bloody bloody blah. And I knew they were his fans as well. So I just made a video about Porky, a couple of videos, telling some home truths, smashing it out of the park. And I got a message from Mark actually as well. It was Mark Unrivaled. This is an exclusive. Mark messaged me and saying, Oh, why did he go at Porky? Like, he doesn't understand why you went at him. It's like, okay. Like, it's like Porky was really upset or something. But yeah. You know, people watch. People watch. People watch. Who would I have on now? There's a few people I'd have on. You know, BDA sometimes jumps on panels. Nordic. I've got to be honest, man. My boxing knowledge of the YTBC these days is dead. I don't know who's out there. Yeah, but Coogan blocked me as well. I forget why Coogan blocked me. I think it was because I was making MTK. I think it was when MTK got shut down. I think that's when he blocked me. I think I was talking shit on Twitter. I don't know what I said to him, but he blocked me, yeah. He couldn't handle it. I'm a fan of all fighters, but the European fighters I'm starting to get behind more because they challenge themselves to fight elite competition. My country, America, fighters are more political, I notice. Yeah, there is that, but maybe it will change. Hopefully guys like Abdullah Mason, for example, will buck that trend. Yeah, Frank Warren was smart getting a lot of percentage of heavyweights in his promotion. Yeah, heavyweight is a money division. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's got Parker, he's got Wardley, he's still got Fury, he's got Talma, he's got Dubois. Who else has he got? I think he still has Zhili Zhang, believe it or not. Triple B would be good. Triple B would be... He's funny. Triple B's funny. I was watching a bit of his live last night. Yeah. Yeah, Matchroom are not what they were. They're not what they were. Blood Boxing, John Boxing, Joey, Lee, Precise, Boxing Librarian. Would you have them on? Boxing Librarian, no. Precise, yeah. Lee, as in Lee in the chat, yeah. Joey, I don't know who Joey is. John Boxing, I keep on hearing the name, but I don't know who he is. And Blood Boxing, possibly. That would be funny, though, Owen. That would be funny. Yeah, Boots Ortiz is a fight I want to see. But also, you know, you look in that division, you got Murtazaliev. Like, what's he doing? Like, Murtazaliev and Ortiz would be a great fight. Murtazaliev against Ennis would be a great fight. Or Fundora Furman winner against those guys. Like, 154, there are so many fights to make. Bowadchuk is still there as well, let's not forget. Bowadchuk, he's fighting tonight against Brandon Adams, against a guy who beat him. That was the first guy to beat Bowadchuk. It was an upset win. Brandon Adams knocked him out, so he's trying to avenge that. It's a good look. See, I don't know who he is. I've got to be honest. I've heard the name mentioned by other people, but I don't know who he is. But if he's in that kind of space, then I wouldn't be interested. You know, I want people who are open-minded, fun. You know, that's what I want. And respectful as well. Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think the IBF 154 champion, he would fight anyone. Unfortunately, he's high risk and dangerous and nobody wants to step up and fight him. Boots should be the guy to do it, to be honest. Well, yeah, he was IBF champion at welterweight. You know, that'd be a good fight. But, you know, he's not... Murtazaliev hasn't been able to capitalise on that win against Tim Tszyu. I'm starting to think as well, like, honestly, like, you look at Fundora, that guy is going to be hard to beat. He's going to be so hard to beat. I know people talk about Boots a lot, and they talk about Ortiz a lot. But I do feel sometimes people write off Fundora. Because he's a big, goofy-looking guy. He looks like a praying mantis, but... Just that size alone is going to give guys so many problems. And he's improving as well. He's improving as well. For a big guy, he's always been able to fight on the inside. He shortens his punches really well. Works the body, good uppercuts. But I liked in the Tim Tszyu rematch how he was pressuring behind straight punches. Like he was keeping distance while applying pressure. And he was still getting caught. Like he's open. But like he's got a lot there that's going to give guys so many problems. Yeah, 54 is definitely spicy. See, I think Fundora's going to go through Keith Thurman. I think Keith Thurman's just too old, too small, been too inactive. Because if Thurman somehow did it, that would be a great win. A 36-year-old Thurman, small, inactive. If he were to beat Fundora, that's a great win. I like Thurman as well, but I just think his day's gone. His day's over. Yeah, those are the sort that would be good. That would be good, man. Like resurrect the old days, man. Like I said, I do miss the old days on here, man. I do miss the old days. I do. Something changed. Something changed. It was in and around the pandemic where I feel it changed. I don't know why that was, but can't help but think Murtazaliev is smoke and mirrors. I mean, he could be because listen, he's basically had 2 fights of consequence, which was Tim Tszyu and Jack Colkay. And in the Colkay fight, it was very competitive. So you might be right, but we have to see, right? We have to see. That's the frustrating thing. That's the frustration. I'm getting spammed by text messages, fucking hell. Yeah, you've been here forever, Lee. I know you're a respectful guy, man. I'd have you on, man, no doubt. From what I saw in the Tszyu rematch, his guard is wide open, but he makes up for it with his size and strength. Eventually, though, the chin will get cracked if he keeps fighting like that. It already has. I agree. His guard needs to be better. His guard needs to be a lot better. But like I do like the fact that he's starting to pressure with long straight punches more consistently. That's a step. But you're right, he needs to be tighter. Because he's got long arms, he can cover his head, he can cover his chin, he can cover his body to a degree. But he's an interesting fighter. I know he's a weight bully. I know he's a massive weight bully. But I can't help but like him. For some reason. I just can't help but like him. He's grown on me, Sebastian Fundora. When he first came along, I was like, gimmick fighter. I hope this guy gets knocked out. But I've got to be honest, he's grown on me. He's grown on me. Yeah, I know. Nordic went back and forth with him, I know. Like Nordic savage when he wants to be. Can't wait till Boxing Librarian puts out part 87 of Sam Langford's resume. Yeah, each to their own, man. Each to their own. It's just not my sort of content. It's not my sort of content. Yeah, Fundora's a cricket-looking guy. Yes, it's his demeanour. Yeah, he's just he comes across quite a likable guy. You like if you saw him at a press conference, like you'd think it's some sort of tech meetup. Do you know what I mean? Like he comes in wearing like a fucking polo shirt with glasses. He looks like a tech bro, like a nerd. That's what he looks like. Like he started up some fucking, I don't know, some fucking social media company or something. He looks like a nerd. He looks like a nerd. But, you know, that guy's dangerous, man. That guy's dangerous. Like, despite his height, I feel like a lot of people in the streets would think, yeah, I could take that guy. But bro. Yeah, but I like Fundora. We have no issue with Fundora really on this channel. I appreciate, like I said, he is objectively he is a weight bully. But he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. His fights are entertaining. Applejack's looking bro. Yeah, his fights are entertaining though, man. Like, whether he wins or loses, he's going to be fun. He's going to be fun. I kind of wonder what happens when that guy fights like a boxer type. Can they stay away from him to outbox him? Because he's got such long reach. Like I said, he could pressure behind straight punches. But yeah, I want to see him in there with a unification fight. Xander Zayas, Murtazaliev, you know, these sort of guys. I'm not sold on Xander Zayas yet, by the way, either. I'm not sold on him. I think he's a decent boxer, but I've just got a weird feeling that... I don't know, I've just got a weird feeling about him. I'm not as sold on him, personally. He just seems too clean, almost. Like, I feel like... He's one of them guys, I just feel like once he's touched, once somebody puts it on him, he might struggle. He might fall to pieces, kind of thing. Just the impression I get. I could be totally wrong. I actually hope I am wrong, because Puerto Rico needs somebody, I think, right now. They got Matias, who's an awesome fighter, but Xander Zayas has like crossover appeal to a degree, I think. Rafael Espinoza, yeah, he isn't just tall, but he's got a bit of weight and muscle on him as well. Yeah, he's a big dude. He's a 6'1" featherweight. And also he can box. He's got poise, he's got patience, he's got a good jab, he's got good straight punches, he can counter, he's got power. He's a good fighter, Rafael Espinoza. I think he's a very dangerous guy. Only thing is, he's 31. He's 31. But he's a good fighter, man. He's technically proficient. You don't look at him and think to yourself, like, oh, that's a Mexican style. Whatever that is, it's kind of a cliche that's thrown around, but he's quite a poised fighter. A random question, Del. How do you see Duran doing in the light middleweight division now against guys like Ortiz, Bowadchuk, Murtazaliev, Fundora, Zhu, Madrimov? It's Duran, man. I can never count out Duran. I think Duran would beat a guy like Madrimov. Tim Zhu. I think he'd beat Murtazaliev. I don't want to be like too fucking hard. I don't want to be too like historically kind though at the same time. But I feel like Duran would do well. Yeah, I would pick Boots over Xander Zayas personally, and I'm not like I think Boots is good, but I'm not exactly on the hype train. But I think he beats Xander Zayas, quite frankly. I feel like Xander Zayas is the weakest guy, the weakest champion at 54. Outmatch Boxing. I remember the name of that channel. I remember the name, Outmatch Boxing. Let me have a look. Yeah, I do remember this dude. Yeah, I liked Chris Andre. I'm hoping he'll be back eventually, Chris Andre. He broke down boxing well. Even when I disagreed, like, again, I like people who, you know, when you watch boxing content, and they'll break down a fight, and you may still end up disagreeing, but at least they still made your own, like, they made you kind of doubt your own prediction or question it, kind of thing. I like content that makes you think, even if you end up not agreeing. That's what I like, personally. Box Pred from Wales. That's another one that rings a bell. Is he an old school channel? That name rings a bell. Yeah, that guy's that was an old school channel. Yeah, I remember him. I do remember Boxpred, yeah. Another guy I liked back in the day, way back in the day, was Boxing Gossip. Mainly for the podcast that he did. Mainly for the boxing podcast. I've got a theory about that. Sorry, I have a theory about that the African American style is trapping a lot of their talent in a pipeline that prevents fighters without that makeup getting through. I often see dudes who I wonder if they were trained with a Mexican style, would they have been much better suited and climbed the ladder better? I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I get your point. I'm trying to think of examples. A guy like Broner, listen, Broner was always overrated in terms of his talent. But I think Broner from early, his style should have been a come forward, high guard, pressure fighter. Adrian Broner. I think he should have worked on punch technique, etc. But he put his shots together okay. He had decent hand speed. I think Broner should have been a pressure guy more so than an outboxer. Because especially as Broner went up in the weights, he tried to be an outboxer. But I think Broner was always more impressive when he was putting shots together and pressuring. But he tried to fight like Floyd too much. I get what you're saying, Nuka. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It feels like a lot of African American boxers may want to box like Floyd or have the outboxer style. But I think that trend's being bucked recently, like with guys like Ennis, Spence. I know Spence is shot now, but matey Abdullah Mason coming up. I get what you're saying. You told him about Lee Selby, but he didn't know who he was. He thought I was talking about snooker. Who are you talking about though? That Boxpred guy. You might be in the minority, but I legit woke up with goosebumps for today's fight with Canelo and Bud. The worst thing about the UK though, bro, like over here, I've got a fucking... I might have to stay up till silly o'clock to watch it. I'm not sure whether I'm going to stay up for it or watch it tomorrow on Netflix, because I can watch it tomorrow on Netflix without knowing the result, I'm assuming. So I don't know yet. Because my issue is I've got to go out tomorrow. So like staying up till like 5 in the morning, I can do it, man, but it's like, do I want to do it? Do I want to make fucking my Sunday even harder than it has to be? I don't know. Broner was very low output. I don't think he had the gas tank to be an effective pressure fighter. You could be right, bro. But, you know, when he put his shots together in spurts, like he did against DeMarco, for example, I just think that's when he looked his most effective. When he was being a bit more aggressive. But I probably agree, but I think he had stylistically, he should have been more aggressive. But again, I do think his talent was in general overrated. But I still maintain, I don't think he utilised that talent in the most effective way. Yeah, that's one thing about Broner. He had a good chin. Like, so he could have put himself in the fire more. He had a good chin, Broner. I will say that. He was always pretty durable, Broner. It's kind of crazy how time goes, how quickly time goes, though. Like, I remember, like, yesterday, Broner in 2012 being heralded the next big thing. It's crazy, like, all that time's passed. He's 36 now, Broner. 36 years old. It's insane. What is a British-style boxer? I don't think there is a British style, honestly. Like, from back in the day, it was like the heavyweights were stereotypically upright, very sort of 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, very basic. Like, there used to be the thing called the horizontal heavyweight, which was a dig at British heavyweights back in the day. I guess, like, if there was a British style, I guess it's like basic fundamentals, ABC, 1-2, high guard, I guess. But I don't think there's no such thing anymore. I think back in the day when we wasn't as good in boxing, not that we're good now, because we're going through another downturn in boxing in the UK. But like, when we were really shit, I feel like the narrative was it was just straight up and down. Lewis Richardson is awful. Oh, God. I've seen both of his first 2 fights, by the way, and I don't think I want to see him again. I really don't want to. I don't want to see that guy again. Well, that's indeed true. Like, that's always been a problem in British boxing, is the lack of inside ability. There's been a few over the years that have bucked that trend a little bit. Like, there'll be the outlier. Like, Taylor could fight on the inside a bit, for example. Josh Taylor. But yeah, that's always been an area where British fighters are lacking for whatever reason. And obviously it stems from training. Because even when the thing about British boxing gyms in the UK, this is my experience, is it's very heavy on basic fundamentals. So like, you know, getting punch technique, your jabs, your straight rights or straight lefts, whatever, you know. It's basic footwork, it's basic high guard. They all try and train fighters in the same way, I've noticed in low-level British amateur boxing gyms. They don't take into account body mechanics, height, arm length, how you move, etc., what's more natural to you. They don't take any of this into account. It feels like they try to train everybody the same way. And I feel like boxing gyms in the UK, they tend to focus on an amateur style. Hence why we do pretty reasonable in the amateurs. I know last Olympic cycles it wasn't great, but we do relatively well in the amateurs. And I feel like that's what most boxing gyms in this country cater to. And I think you see the result of that in the pros. Yeah, facts, Rambler. Yeah, they get beat by Mexicans for a reason, but relaxation and knowledge of how to handle them inside is key, indeed, yeah. And we like I say, that's not really prioritised in the UK, from my own experience. Again, I think the UK school of boxing tends to have the amateur game in mind. When I'm talking about when you first get in the gym, when you first go to a boxing gym in the UK, it's very amateur focused. Whereas in a place like Mexico, that's obviously not the case, you know. And even the US. Do I remember a French middleweight in the 90s or 80s? I think I remember Mike Tyson said he was the French Tyson. There was like 3 of them, all French brothers, but he was like a top champion. No. I don't. Was he actually? Jalalov was out for a year with herpes. That was his official reason. I didn't even know that. Fabrice Tioso? Maybe? Yeah, Tioso was middleweight, wasn't he? Well, I thought it was like super middleweight or something. Yeah, because, yeah, he was the guy who fought... Or was it another Teozo who fought Virgil Hill? That's the only thing... That's the only name... I think you're right, Lee. I think it was Fabrice Teozo. But the only name that I'm fucking getting with that is Virgil Hill. Let's Google it. Fabrice Teozo. Okay, so yeah, no, he lost to Virgil Hill twice, but he did beat Mike McCallum. See, I didn't know that. He beat an old Dariusz Michalczewski. He was old as well, though, to be fair. Okay. So Lee is the fountain of knowledge. But yeah, the guy beat Eric Lucas, who was alright. Mike McCallum, who was very good. I think his brother was super middle. Okay, what's his brother's name? Christoph Teozo. So his brother won a world title as well. I'll be honest, I know nothing about his brother. Okay, cool. So yeah, his brother won a bronze medal in the Olympics in 1984. No, he had most of his fights in France by looks of it. Yeah, it was Fabrice Teozo. You have your moments. Yeah, you can't master something if you're not taught it. Most British fighters historically can't fight off the ropes, can't tactically clinch, especially when hurt themselves. As soon as the back touches the ropes. You're right, Copend. Again, I really think there's a big focus in the UK on amateurs, on like amateur style to have success in the amateurs, to maybe get on Team GB or the England team, whatever. I think we've always been focused on the amateurs for whatever reason. But having said that, like Eastern Europe has that culture even more. You know, in Eastern European countries, a lot of the time, they would view winning an Olympic gold medal as more impressive, more so than winning a world title in the pros. But, you know, they're starting to transition now very successfully. Like, the early wave of Eastern Europeans, yeah, fair enough, you saw these guys had very amateur styles. They didn't really translate, but as the years have passed, they've made the adjustments to the pros. I like seeing fighters like Fabio Wardley and Ajit Caballel who succeed as they have no amateur background. I don't put much into me having a long amateur background. I'm already boxing in a later age anyway. Yeah, that's true. I saw your earlier comment as well. So for me, I'm in America. I started boxing at the age of 20. And if I had to choose after about 40 fights, I would then turn professional. I know that's my main goal already, then to stay amateur for 10 years. And okay, I think I understand. Well, look at like, if you start boxing late, I think you might as well just learn what you can, have a few amateur fights and turn pro as quickly as possible. Because if you have something, you have something. Look at Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez started boxing at 20, 21. I think Sergio Martinez had 20 amateur fights, and he turned pro. I think Sergio Martinez. Let's have a look. We'll work it out. When did he start boxing? So yeah, he was 20 years old when he started training boxing. Sergio Martinez. He actually had more amateur fights than I realised, though. He had 41 amateur fights. So he started in 1995 when he was 20. Started boxing in general. And he turned pro in December 1997. So he had just over 2 years in the amateurs, learning from scratch, and he turned pro. That's kind of wild, isn't it? That's kind of wild. So he was training boxing for 2 years, just over 2 years. Yeah, British problem is caught between the American and Russian schools, so they get stuck with the upright spine and amateur cardio that comes undone by Mexican pressure fighters. Yeah, we've always, especially in the lighter weight classes. But yeah, I mean, there are guys out there, Blood Rush Entertainment, that you can take solace from and take inspiration from. Like you say, like Fabio Wardley, for example. Sergio Martinez. Another guy who a lot of people don't realise started late was a guy called Nate Campbell. Anybody remember Nate Campbell? Like, Nate Campbell had a very respectable pro career. You know, he fought some good contenders. He fought for a world title. Fought guys like Tim Bradley, Danny Garcia. Had a good career. And he started boxing at 24 years old. Like, started boxing at 24 years old. Which is pretty crazy. I've got a weird feeling Davis beats him. I've got a feeling Davis beats him. If you turn pro late, you're better off going the Mexican route and fighting Mexico every 2 weeks, fighting bums as your apprenticeship, and hopefully you get top sparring in between, yeah. But no, there are fighters who have started late and had really good careers. Like Rocky Marciano was one as well. He started at 23 and turned pro at 24, I think. So it can be done, but you have to have something about you that's not normal. That's different. Maybe you've got a weird fucking, like, some weird, like, base level of athleticism that's, like, not normal. Maybe you're tough of it. Maybe you've got some crazy toughness. Maybe you've got naturally great cardio. Maybe you've got naturally great punching power. I think when you turn to boxing late, it's doable, but you have to have something, in my opinion, that separates yourself. For the most part, unless you're just a really fucking quick learner. Unless you're just a really quick learner. But no, it can be done, and that's my biggest regret in life, is not taking boxing seriously. Like, genuinely is my biggest regret, is not taking boxing seriously. I wish I actually gave it a real go. Because I was in and out of the gyms when I was in my late teens. I've told the story many times, but you know how life gets in the way. You know, I started training when I was 17, basically, and I trained seriously for a couple of months, and then I wouldn't, but life then got in the way. You know, work, women, you know, partying, having fun. That sort of thing got in the way. And if I could have my time again, I don't regret much as such, but like, I would definitely take boxing seriously. I'd give boxing a bit of time and be serious with it. Because the only thing I know about myself is, the only unnatural ability I have is my arm length. That's what I have that kind of separates me, I guess. Which is something to build on. Which would have been something to build on. Like, my arms are stupid long. Like, I'm all arms and legs. Like a spider. Like Lawrence Okoli. But yeah, I didn't train hard. I never really took it seriously, like, aside from sparring. But you never know, like, it's one of those things, isn't it? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's funny how the world's average size is affected the style dynamic and style demographics of each division. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Because when I first started training, like, I was tall and thin. I'm still tall and thin now, but I was obviously a lot lighter back then. I could have probably made welterweight when I was like 6'1", with stupid long arms, like silly long arms. I was like a smaller version of Vendora. My arms might be longer than Vendora, or as long, I don't know. I don't know, what is Vendora's arm length? Not reach, arm length, I don't know. He looks to have pretty long arms, to be fair, Vendora. 80-inch reach, Vendora. I actually want to see the arm length. Not reach. Because there is a difference. Anyway, I can't find it. Pussy and booze, exactly, bro. Happens to the best of us, I feel. Happens to the best of us. I'm just going to go Eubank again, bro, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, that's great. Like, yeah, so what I'm glad about is I don't party at all, really, so I'm glad I can focus on it completely. I just have to order my equipment for boxing. I'm size 15, no boxing shoes fit me, basically. Well, that's another thing about boxing shoes I realise as well. So, like, I'm size 12, shoe size. But the size 12 boxing shoes felt fucking mad tight, like crazy tight, but like uncomfortably tight. So I ordered the size up. I had the same issue. I boxed at 13 but never took it seriously. So I'm trying to take Muay Thai and kickboxing as seriously as possible now. Well, the weird thing about Muay Thai and kickboxing, and I've never understood this, considering how brutal those sports are, and I feel like you're going to get more injuries in those sports, but I feel like I see more examples in those sports of fighters fighting until a lot later, like fighting well into their late 30s, into their 40s sometimes, which is really weird considering how brutal those sports are, especially Muay Thai. Whereas boxing's only punching. It's still very obviously dangerous as fuck, but I feel like boxers go on the slide quicker than Muay Thai guys or kickboxers. It's really weird. So, like, starting late in Muay Thai, you actually might have a better chance, honestly, than if you start late in boxing. I could be talking out my arse. I could be talking out my arse. Age divisions. I wouldn't say boxing needs age divisions, but what I would like to see, I think, like, I'd like to see better exhibitions between old fighters. Like, let's say, for example, you could make, like, Cotto versus Marquez in a 6-rounder. I'd like to see that sort of shit, but Muay Thai fighters peak in their early 20s? Bro, I'm sure I see, like, loads of old boys do well in Muay Thai. When I say old boys, I mean, like, late 30s and shit. I'm probably wrong, bro. I'm probably talking out my arse. Not as much of an amateur system in those sports as boxing, so it's fine to start later. Badr Hari is still going at 40 after having over 100 odd fights. Badr Hari was a guy who was, bro, he was a savage in his prime. He was a savage in his prime. Badr Hari. I never knew he was still fighting, bro. I've got to be honest. I just googled him. Yeah, he's lost most of his last fights, though. He's definitely washed. Okay, no, that's fair enough. What about just regular kickboxing then? I swear those guys can go on forever. I swear regular kickboxing, there's a lot of old boys. Like, wasn't Sammy Schilt, like, really good until he was, like, really old? I might be talking out my ass, guys. Kickboxing fights are 3 rounds, so it's possible to fight longer and more often. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Maybe I'm thinking about kickboxing, that the fighters tend to go older. It might be kickboxing. See, that's a sport I know I would get into if I gave it a chance. I just don't have the time, like, for all these sports, man. You know what I mean? I know I would like it, because I have liked what I have seen. I've always liked when I have watched it. I've always liked it, so it's good. It's good fun. It looks good fun. I'm just not dexterous enough when it comes to my legs to be a kickboxer for some reason. I can throw a decent front kick. That's probably about it. I tried Muay Thai once, well maybe twice, and I just couldn't get. It just wasn't for me. Just wasn't for me. Yeah, bro. Some of those Thai guys in general, man, those guys are tough. Like, those guys are tough as fuck. Some of those guys' durability is crazy, honestly. Like, some of those little Thai guys are fucking durable as fuck. Like Nokia phones. You can do anything to those cunts and they'll keep on coming, man. It's crazy. Search Baram Rajabadjev. Rajabadze, and watch his fights. Won't be disappointed. So he's got to be a Rusky, right? He's got to be fucking from like Chechnya or something, or Dagestan, surely. Azerbaijan, near enough. Near enough, near enough. Iranian Azerbaijani. Okay, I'll give him a look. Yeah, I think I've got a feeling Klitschko's just going to out-jab him, Rambler. But if I'm Franklin, I try and soak up what he throws at me for the first 4 or 5, and then put the pressure on to try and test that gas tank, like you said, and then try and get to that chin. Because Klitschko, I'm not convinced by his chin from the amateurs, and like you said, the stamina's not always that impressive. So, and he's 35. If you go to Thailand, they'd make you like it, I reckon. They'll teach you to become dexterous, yeah. But it's really weird, like, in terms of, like, I'm fleet of foot. I'm, like, really fleet of foot. But in terms of kicking, I just can't. My body mechanics, again, the body mechanics, man, it doesn't suit me. It's his DNA. He's the next David Price. It's like he's got no mitochondria for energy. Could be. Could be. Probably a deep question. Why do you think us fighting fans are attracted to such brutal and violent sports like boxing, kickboxing and MMA? I think there's definitely the element of competition and the technical element of it. I think there's a social element where, like, it's a, you know, supporting people who look like you appeals to some people. But ultimately, the topic in which a lot of people don't like to admit is most of us have some sort of passing fascination with violence. You know? There's not many people who drive by a car crash and don't slow down. Most slow down. 99% of people slow down and have a look. It's just part of a human condition, I think. Doesn't make you a bad person. It's just part of a human condition. It's good for you, Blood Rush, man. You should definitely, what I'd suggest to you as well, once you get started and once you get into the routine, maybe document it on YouTube, bro. Like, that could be some good content. Like, maybe document it. Like, record some bits, like your training, like what you eat, how you're getting on, your thoughts. You know, that'd be a good idea, I think, if you could actually try to make it into content as well. Because it wouldn't take, I wouldn't have thought it would have taken an amazing amount of effort to like put it into content as well. Kind of like follow your journey kind of thing. And it's good for yourself anyway. Like, you know, film your sparring and shit, and film how you're working out, and you can analyze it from there. My coach was telling me he believed his first fight in Thailand was fixed because they brought in a cab driver with 200 fights and he went down from a jab. Laugh out loud. Yeah, there's probably some betting shit going on there, right? There's some betting shit. You know those Thais, they like to bet. There's a big betting culture in Thailand, I believe. There's a big betting culture. But, you know, it looks a fun sport, Muay Thai. It does look a fun sport. What little I've seen from it has always been fun to watch. Fucking hell. Okay, so I've got to be out by 10:30 tomorrow in the morning. Do you think I can get away with staying up for Canelo Crawford? I'm not actually driving though, somebody's picking me up, so there is that. Do you reckon I can make it? I don't know if I can. Yeah, also kickboxing isn't the most well paid, so yeah, people go on longer for money, yeah. That makes sense. What's up, Emmanuel? How you doing, bro? Yeah, unless you're like a Badr Harry or like that sort of guy, you're not going to be getting paid a hell of a lot, are you? What was that boxing style of yours that that coach didn't let you train? It's so funny. It's like when expectations don't meet reality, and you must have been frustrated. Yeah, no. So my natural instinct when I boxed was always to like. Obviously, I'm a long, lanky guy with long arms, so my natural default was literally to box high right hand, glue to my chin, low left hand. But he was always trying to insert into me, like, everyone I sparred was taller than me usually. Like, if there was my weight or below, they was always shorter than me, sorry. And I used to fight that way. I used to try and utilise my reach, my jab. It's just natural. That was most comfortable to me. But he had this fucking fascination with like implementing head movement and learning how to bob and weave. It's like, bro, if I went to competitive, like amateur, none of these cunts are going to be taller than me. None of these guys are going to have longer arms than me. Why are you teaching me that? I did it, but it just fucking pissed me off. I personally wouldn't bother with these two. It might just be a boring sparring session. If it was Inoue MJ, I would, but that's on Sunday afternoon. Oh. It's going to leave me fucked for the next day. See, I could do this. I could still do it now, man, but back in the day, I could recover so easily from a late night. Whereas these days, it becomes a little harder. I walk a lot and slum it a lot, but I haven't got the energy for gym. There's roid heads in my gym. They have a huge vein on their head and they're about to, it looks like they're going to chest burst a heart attack at any moment. Yeah, bro, I mean, but you can do a lot on your own, right? You can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups, you can do fucking, like you say, walking, running, shadow boxing. There's still a lot you can do. You can buy your own weights, just some basic weights. Like, I've put more effort into, like, getting a little bit fitter recently, you know? Just doing basic shit, though. I've not been doing a lot. Just, like, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, some barbell curls, not super heavyweight. That sort of shit. Like, that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing. But yeah, it's definitely made me feel better, and I'm more toned. Like I've been doing it for, I don't even know, 2 months maybe. Again, not super effort. It's not like super effort. I've been eating a little bit better, but again, not major effort. And I've already noticed the difference in the mirror. Like, my stomach is completely flat. My top 2 abs, when I tense, are fucking super pronounced. So I'm getting there. I look fitter than I did. Because I definitely, like, I'll be honest, like, the last couple of years, like, I haven't put in any effort in regards to, like, taking care of myself like I should. So yeah, I just decided to get my head back in the game a little bit. Okay, so yeah, for you, definitely 100%. Yeah, head movement's definitely very important, as I'm a smaller heavyweight at Mike Tyson height. But I'm interested in learning about counterpunching. Most heavyweight fighters come right at you with pressure, yeah. And also body work as well, bro. Like, especially for yourself, if you've got taller guys in front of you, the body work, if they try and keep you at distance, you know, you want to be learning how to bob and weave and cut the distance quickly, and also work the body. Like, a lot of heavyweights these days don't work the body. It's very rare. Like, Usyk works the body, like, very cerebrally. And Caballel works the body well, but a lot of heavyweights don't work the body, man. Twisted Fate and Hilton Brothers is a great documentary channel on YouTube. Never heard of it. Oh, seriously. But anyway, guys, I do need to wrap up because I actually, speaking of exercise, I need to do my shit. I need to do it. And after that, I need to, like, fucking sort my food out, whatever. I don't even know what I'm going to have for dinner. Don't even know what I'm going to have. I might actually make some fucking, just some chicken. Chicken. I've got some chicken wings, like plain. I might season them up. Have a little feast of chicken wings. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it here, guys. I'm going to wrap it here. Peace out, guys. Have a great weekend. I will do a post-fight, obviously. I will do post-fights over this weekend, but when and when they come out, fuck knows. But yeah, enjoy the fights tonight, guys. Stay safe, all that good shit. I'll catch you shortly. Have a good one.